A dash of mystery, a sparkle of magic, and all things cozy. Join your host, Elle Hartford, for Cozy Alchemy, a proud member of the Authors on the Air network. Hello and welcome to Cozy Alchemy, the podcast all about cozy, spellbinding books. I'm Elle, and I'm here today with Audrey Goldberg Ruoff, who is the author of Hopelessly Teavoted, which we will get to in just a minute. I'm very excited to talk about it. But first, Audrey is going to start us off with a game of two truths and a lie.
Okay, so let's see if you can guess which one of these is a lie.
Yeah.
Hi, by the way, also thank you for having me, Elle. Okay.
No problem.
I once got my head stuck between bars on a balcony.
Ooh.
I have been bungee jumping. And I have chaperoned a field trip of 15 teenagers in Japan, overseas.
Ooh, these are all very adventurous.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, and I have a little bit of background knowledge, which is, as we were just talking, that you are a middle school teacher. That last one seems possible. The first one seems terrifying. But then again, so does bungee jumping. I'm going to guess that bungee jumping is the lie.
Oh my gosh, bungee jumping is the lie. Yes.
Aha!
I would actually be terrified to do that. I would not like that.
Yeah, no. I could not either. But that means that you got stuck on a balcony, like in a
Yes.
railing.
As a little kid, I used to like to watch Squirrels a lot and make up stories about them, which now it really tracks. And I stuck my head through and got stuck so badly that my mom had to like butter my ears to pull me out.
That's such a classic story. I feel like the using butter especially.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll say I'll do anything to like get a story, even if it's about a squirrel.
That's awesome. And a lovely segue into talking about your debut novel, right? Hopelessly Teavoted.
Here it is.
Yes, very cute. I know the cover is so awesome.
It's so pretty.
Yeah, and it's overall, like, it's a very witchy romance, also very modern. Can you tell us a little bit about it, just to get us started?
Yes. So if you've heard of the trope, touch her and you die, this is like a twist on that. It's touch her and I die. Because it has a curse. So we've got these two main characters who finally figure out, after years and years of sort of missing each other and missed opportunities, that they do actually like each other, just to be cursed so that they can't touch without dying.
I love it. It's an excellent pitch there. You really got it down. Yeah, that's great. And that's so fun. Okay, so we first meet one of our main characters, right? Azrael,
Yes, Az.
in a state of, he's like very, very nervous. We're seeing him in kind of a flashback to his younger, awkward days, and he's really feeling like a lot of longing for Victoria. Why did you choose that moment in particular to start his story off?
So when the characters jumped into my head, I've always really loved the Addams Family a lot, and I based Azrael and his family on the Addams Family, and I knew that it was important to me to write characters in a rom-com who were dealing with grief and who still got to have moments of funniness and moments of joy. So when the story came to me, I knew that his parents were going to be dead pretty soon in the story, but I really wanted to show them on the page. Like, I really needed to set up that they were this beautiful, loving couple that loved each other so much that you see them doing that, like, even in the afterlife as ghosts, because they are still characters in the book. Yeah. So I really wanted to do that. And at the time that I was writing, a lot of people were advising against prologues. So I call it like a sparkling chapter 1. Like, it's not from the prologue region.
Right.
But it is, it's essentially a prologue. It's like a flashback chapter that happens 8 years before. So it is chapter 1, but we get that little snippet of him leaving for college. And I also wanted to show this pivotal moment of he almost tells Vicky how he feels then, but he chickens out.
Right.
Because I think that, especially for a character with anxiety and depression, is so real. Like being so close to doing something you want, but not having the nerve or like the self-love to do it even.
Absolutely.
So it felt authentic to show his parents on the page and to show that moment. So that's why I started right there and then jumped ahead.
Right, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's a really nice way to like show multiple things at once, right? That's going to set us up later in the story. Yeah, that's really lovely. And of course, now because it is like a romance, and we do have the dual point of view, which is a lot of fun. So now we have the same question on Victoria's side or Vicky's side. And with her, we're meeting her like more in the present day, but it's with like a string of rejections,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So we like get to see her being really determined, but also like things are tough. So yeah.
Yes. She has a bad breakup with a bad person that she probably should have broken up with long before. I was actually listening to like a lot of Fleetwood Mac when I was first crafting Vicky's character. So I was thinking of her as kind of like this flower child, but also kind of with that like Stevie Nicks rage.
Gotcha.
Of like a musician has wronged her. Like she would sing a song directly. She's not a musician, but the guy she's breaking up with is, and she would sing a song directly to his face, like in her rage. And the thing that I wanted to touch on with her character and why I started her at this, she's breaking up with somebody. She's also in the process of finally standing up to her horrible parents, and like cutting toxic people out of her life. I thought, first of all, that family was really important to me here, but not everybody has the benefit of being born into a family like Azriel is, where everybody loves you exactly the way you are. And so we do, like, lots of people have families that are found as well, and that's just as valid. And so I wanted to show this character that does the work she needs to do, even though it's really hard, to cut toxic people out of her life, and carries on and finds happiness anyway. And I also wanted to show her in this breakup because the guy that she's breaking up with, it's not that she likes him specifically so much. The thing that really hurts her about it is that he pushes this button, this like point of pressure for her that she's really worried about. So she is generally like a sunshiny and happy person. And she's the sunshine, right? But he pushes on this idea that she could be too clingy, and that's a core fear of hers. So it's almost like the situation hurts her more than the person.
Sure.
So I wanted Az and Vicky to really feel like two, in some ways, broken people, like two very real people that have very real problems that still are able to like come together and find this joy together, despite all of the obstacles, including not being able to touch.
Absolutely. And that is like very classic romance, right? Like that's,
Yes,
what we're reading it for. So that makes perfect sense. But I really love that idea. If I could back up just a little to what you were saying there, is, yeah, we have Az and Vicky, as two sides, but this idea that you're setting up like the two different families, right? And from there, like the multitude of ways that a family can exist. I really appreciate how intentional you were about, right, on one hand, we have a very lovely family, and leads to grief, but there's also a lot of love, but also the fact that not everybody has that right off the bat, and of course we know found family is such an important and beloved trope in a lot of different cozy genres. So yeah, do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Like, was that like from the get-go, was that really important to you to include?
Yeah, it really was, because my two main inspirations for this were the Addams Family and then also the show Pushing Daisies, which again does a lovely job of dealing with families that are complicated, because if you haven't seen Pushing Daisies, the premise is that the main character, Ned, can touch a person or animal that's died and bring them back to life. But if he doesn't touch them again in a minute, it kills someone else around him. So basically he's like, as a side hustle, he owns a pie store. As a side hustle, he does detective work, and he's trying to figure out what happened to this girl that he loved, his childhood sweetheart. And so he touches her, and he can't bring himself to touch her again. So she stays alive, somebody else dies. So he's really willing to do something serious. But she has these two. I'm sorry, my cat is.
No worries. Aww.
So sorry. He wants to be in this.
Yeah.
So she has these two reclusive aunts that have raised her and a really complicated family. And he also has a mother who died when he was young, and they share this in common, that they had the grief of losing a parent young, and sort of having a complicated relationship with their remaining parents or grown-ups, and hers is more positive and his is more negative. And I just thought that that was so lovely to show to people who had family that was so complicated, and yet they're still so dedicated to trying to like make it work and have the both a relationship that works between them despite all of the different baggage they're bringing to it, and to have relationships with those family members and like figure out what that can look like even when it's difficult. And then the Addams family was just always the kind of family that I wanted. Like, they are so loving, even if you're weird and hairy, even if you're just like a hand disconnected from a body. They love each other exactly as they are, which is what I think love really should look like, that you love a person exactly the way that they are. And so I had kind of that meshing of the two inspirations, and I really wanted to grapple with this idea of what does family look like, how can it look different from what you might expect, and how do we deal with it when it turns out that like terrible things happen to, you know, that expression, the rain falls on the just and the unjust alike. Like, terrible things happen to good people. Az loses his parents, even though they're so wonderful, and Vicky's parents, who are actually like horrible human beings, are not dead. Like, they're fine. So how do we like move forward even when life is deeply unfair and painful? And how do we persist in loving family even when they're gone, and in building the families that we need to be happy?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I love that there's I love the added layer of hope and promise in that, right? Because there's already, so you get a lot of that feeling already with romance, because, you know, there's probably a happily ever after, right? But to see it reflected in the people around you as well, and the family that the character creates and that sort of thing, it's nice.
Yeah. And that's why I like this kind of romance where it's our world but there's magic, because I think that reminds us to look for the magic in every day. Like, look for that idea that our world is really messy and sometimes horrifying and scary, but it could be a little nicer. And when we imagine it with literal magic, it is a little nicer. And for me, that's a reminder to think about the ways that, even though I unfortunately do not have witch powers, I can't snap my fingers and make things happen. But like, it does remind me to think about the ways that I could make things a little bit better, you know?
Yeah, no, I love that. I absolutely do. And now, all the family talk leads very well into talking too about one of the truly standout like supporting characters is Priscilla, right?
Yes, I love her.
Has a tendency to steal the show when she shows up. And this has come up on the podcast before, like when I'll talk to authors of, you know, cozy fantasy, cozy mystery, that romance, often they will say like, well, you know, the thing about the side characters is they each could have their own story, right? Everybody has their own story. And I feel like Priscilla very much fits with that. But what was your inspiration for her?
So I was thinking of Aubrey Plaza, in part because I'm always thinking of Aubrey Plaza, but I've loved Aubrey Plaza in so many things, and she has this really like dry delivery. Think of like April Ludgate in Parks and Rec, and then like Rio and Agatha all along now. So she's just like the perfect sort of like dry, beautiful goth. And I love that she's a prankster. I love a prankster character. And I just thought that it was perfect. You know, again, if you look at the Addams Family, I originally started writing it and I was thinking, well, Azrael is kind of like my Wednesday Addams character, where he's like sort of mopey. But she's also got some Wednesday Addams inspiration too, for sure. She's the one that would probably look like Wednesday Addams. And I do actually get to write her story. So she has a book, coming next fall. That's coming out fall 2026. I guess, you know, I wasn't the only one that fell in love with Priscilla, and my publisher did agree to take a whole book on her. and that's a Rivals to Lovers. And when I pitched that one, I was thinking very much of Death Becomes Her and of Sabrina Carpenter's Taste music video, which is like a take on the Death Becomes Her. So I was also thinking of like Jenna Ortega, but in that like pranking where sometimes she's willing to take it a little bit far. And so you get... Yeah, you can see that a little bit in Hopelessly Teavoted, but I'm really glad to get to explore that in a book where she gets to take it even further than just as a side character.
Right.
But yeah, I love her. She was a lot of fun to write because she's both so serious and so funny, like in what she's setting up behind the scenes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Are there any other side characters that you just, especially fell in love with or okay.
So Lex, I loved writing Lex. I will tell you that when I first drafted this, I was like, this is going to be the most evil character because he does something kind of despicable. But as I was writing him, even from the beginning of like the first time he spoke on the page, I was like, oh no, I really love him. He can't be. And then he became much more complicated to write because I was like, oh, he's going to do this really bad thing, but also, he's like hot and appealing. So I do love him. He's my morally gray hottie. Sorry, I'm not sorry. He was a lot of fun to write. And then just like a lot of the smaller characters too have such a place in my heart that now that I am lucky enough to get to craft this second novel for Priscilla, I'm making sure to give like space to Lex and space to like Hank from the tea shop, who's this retired postman who I really loved, and to Hazel, the high schooler that works at the tea shop. I just think I love characters. Like, I'm an English teacher. I taught high school English for 15 years. Now I teach middle school English. So building characters is like my favorite because people are so interesting and weird and funny. So I just I really do fall for every single side character. And if there are some that I can't take with me to the next project because like they don't work in there, that makes me sad. But even like I don't want to spoil anything. Okay, there's one character, let me say this in a way that won't be a spoiler. There's a character who has something in her real name that is like kind of a hint to what she had been up to in her life. And I just think that she is so funny. And I like crack myself up about that. Just like this teeny little joke with a side character. If you're wondering what kind of teacher I am, I'm definitely the teacher where kids are like, enough with the puns. Like, we don't need any more of these. Please, Miss Ruoff. So if you are that teacher too, or if you're the kid, and there are a couple of kids like in the back, like, I like the puns. If you were that person in school, this book might be for you.
Absolutely. It just adds a layer of fun, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's fantastic.
Oh my goodness. I set you up. Well, no, but I love that very much. And especially myself personally, I am like an extremely character-driven author, so everything that you're saying makes complete sense. And I just want to circle back, like, it's, as you said, people are endlessly fascinating and odd as sometimes, and just layered. Do you find that having the added element of like magic and like magical powers makes it even more fun to create characters? Because then you get to play, right, with their abilities. You
get to play with their abilities and with the world building that goes around them. Like, I always knew that I wanted for Asriel to snap his fingers and be able to do magic, basically, again, because of the Addams Family. But then I was thinking about, like, well, what is it that makes the magic work, and how do other people's magic work? How does other people's magic work? And then I was thinking about, like, okay, so Priscilla would have the same kind of magic as her brother, but then her girlfriend might have a slightly different kind of magic. Like, she might be tapping her fingers together, which is both very British because she is British, and it's like a slightly different way to connect your hands. So I have done a lot of work, especially like in getting to write the next book, in specifically how does the magic work in your hands if you're a witch.
Ooh, cool. Okay, cool. And we'll circle back around to that in a minute. But while we're kind of still talking about characters, you have several like villains, morally gray characters. Like you have a lot going on. And in my notes, I was pointing out because like, so obviously this podcast we focus a lot on cozy stories, right? Again, cozy mystery, cozy fantasy. But that doesn't cozy doesn't necessarily mean light.
Right.
And certainly not all the time. So for you, was it very important to have kind of like this range of bad people and also morally gray people as well?
Yeah, I think for me, what I want in cozy is to know that things are going to be okay despite the bad people. And especially right now, I think this is a moment in history where a lot of us really need that reassurance, like things are going to be okay. So I did write it from a place of what does that look like for things to be okay? What does it look like if we actually got to see like poetic justice for people that are doing wrong and who might harm others, that we don't necessarily get that kind of satisfaction in real life. So there is like this element of it's unfair that Asriel's parents have died, but like also the people that he's interacting with, some of them do get things like they get their comeuppance, they get what's fair for them. Right. And there is this coziness to like, we're in a very fall cozy town. It's in Vermont, which I love. I just love the state of Vermont. It's beautiful. And so you feel like you could like bundle up and wear a sweater and drink a glass of tea and also watch your enemies suffer a little. Don't we all want that? Just a teensy. And find love.
Right. I love the juxtaposition there, which is so true. Very, very true. Especially like on my end, I spend a lot of time, especially in the cozy mystery world, right? Where it's exactly what you're saying. You know, something goes terribly wrong with the mystery. Often somebody's murdered.
Somebody's dead, but aw.
You know, right? But we know that it's going to work out, and we know that we're going to figure things out, and justice will be served.
And that's nice, right? That's reassuring to have on the page.
Yeah, right, because it's kind of disingenuous to tell people or tell readers, oh, nothing bad will happen ever, right? It's I think, more reassuring or more realistic, perhaps, to say, like, something bad will happen, but, you know, it'll be all right.
But you'll persevere. You'll keep going. Yeah.
No. Absolutely. Okay, so now back to all the different kinds of magic in your world. And so you were saying you're kind of developing that as you're going into the second book. Did you start out with the first book having a plan, like a magical system in mind, or did it evolve?
I did have a plan, and I tried to be careful with the plan to make it a plan that could evolve. And part of that is working with curses. Because if you've got a devil that can curse people, and there's the implication in the book that he could curse people in different ways, and that other devils could also curse people, then that is kind of like a little door that I can get back into later on if I need to do a slightly different power. Because we have a witch, and then we also have Vicky has death powers, where she can touch an object that was significant to somebody in their life and summon their ghost and talk to that ghost. So that was a really fun power. Again, I wanted it to be pushing Daisy's-esque, but not exactly like pushing, like really inspired by, not like taking the exact way that they did that. But I knew that I wanted her power to have to do with death, because I wanted to grapple with this idea of grief. So I was sure of her power and sure of Asriel's power at the beginning when I started out. And then some of the other things kind of fell into place. I did a really nerdy thing where I wrote just for myself. I guess I would call this like fanfic of my own world, or is it I guess just fiction of my? I wrote more fiction. It's not fan fiction. It's just wrote fiction. Right. I wrote like his parents' story, like how they met. I ended up writing like 40,000 words of like, how did they meet? Did they like each other at first? What happened? how did it go wrong? Like, how did they solve it? And in doing that, I really started...
40,000 words. That's a novella. Like, you wrote, like, this is not just like...
Yeah, no, I went hard.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I need to know what they, like, where they're coming from, just like I needed to know for me, like, what their kinds of magic are. So there's kind of like this hint of that she does plant craft, so her magic is, like, she's learned a lot about plants, and that he does shadow craft, and there's an implication that those are things that you could be naturally gifted at, but that you could also develop skill in, just like writing or art for us, like, you know, the magic that we have the access to in the real world. So I did do a lot of world building through probably unnecessary writing. But I'm, like, really happy to know so well how their story went. And then that did, so I say unnecessary, but that's not true, because it did set me up to really understand how the magic in my world works when plotting another book that I wanted it to have similar themes, but be completely its own, because it is a standalone set in the same universe. So the idea is that you could read it in any order. Though, you know, it's a romance. I will tell you, this isn't a spoiler. There's a happy ending. So you will, if you read the second book first, you'll figure out that Az and Vicky they do work out.
Right. Surprise.
Surprise. Your romance ended in romance.
Exactly. Okay. So we already know you have plans to write one more book, at least. Do you think you'll go further, or are there other worlds you want to explore?
Gosh, from your lips beyond? To my publisher's ears, like... yeah, I think I'll always want to go back to Hallow Cross, because it's a magical place, you know, even though I made it up in my head.
That's what we're all doing, right? Or at least, you know, authors. Oh, hey, kitty.
Sorry, Salem is really trying to be a part of this.
Salem. Oh, no, that is an excellent, very appropriate name.
Yes, he is named after Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Salem Saberhagen.
Nice, nice. It's honestly a rare episode that we get through without an animal appearance. Usually it's my animal, so I'm very glad to not.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah. No, you're completely fine.
Okay, so I really loved the book. It's not a romance book, but The Cat Who Saved Books. And I often, like, in my head, think of my cat as the cat who loves podcasts. And maybe he's, like, secretly a magical cat and has another life, like, with a podcast, helping people, kind of like the Coraline cat. Maybe there's another world that he creeps into where he helps people solve problems or saves them from things. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I've revealed then that I've come up with a story for my cat, even.
Yeah, which maybe could be at least another novella.
Stop it, I have too many ideas already.
Oh, I know, that's always the problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you could, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to yourself? Like, if you could talk to yourself back when you were just starting out.
Yeah, go easy on yourself. Like, have a little grace. It's gonna be hard, and it's okay to have times when you feel like quitting, as long as you don't quit. Because I did have, like, a lot of times where I was failing at what I wanted to do, or it wasn't happening as quickly as I wanted, and I thought about, like, should I just give up and throw this all into a fireplace and set it on fire? Very dramatic writer problems, you know?
No,
and
yeah.
I managed not to. So I guess, like, yeah, be kind to yourself would be my advice.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And especially, again, like the... I love how much... No. Don't apologize. Permission has really been a theme, right? Because we were talking about, like, it's okay to have a family that looks different. You know, it's okay for something to go wrong and then to fix it, right? And it's okay to feel like you're failing or like you failed, but then to just keep going.
Yes.
Keep at it, right? Perseverance.
Absolutely.
That's lovely. All right. Okay. My final question for you. I ask this of everybody. What is one win that you have had in the past week? Big or small? Could be anything.
I have a really good one that I can't share.
No.
Because publishing.
Fair.
Oh, gosh. Now it's all consuming. I thought of one that I could share, and it's just, like, left my mind. I'm gonna go with, I'm bad at keeping secrets.
No.
Okay, one of my kids brought home a really nice story that he had written in first grade, and it was just really creative and funny, and I thought, like, that's my kid. Yeah.
Oh,
so
that's really sweet.
Yeah, that was a good win.
Nice, yeah. Especially to be venturing into the author world yourself and continuing on and to see your kid. Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
As long as he doesn't get his head stuck between the bars watching squirrels to get the next story. Right?
He would, but the bars, I made sure, I did actually, like, look when I bought my townhouse, like, how wide the bars are on the porch. You can't put your head in there. Yeah. It's good to know yourself.
Very nice. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. This has been lovely.
Yeah, very good. I will have, like, your link and everything in the show notes so that listeners can find you, can find your book, can get ready for the next one. And yeah, once again, thank you.
Thank you.
And for listeners, I will talk to you next time. Cozy Alchemy is brought to you by Authors on the Air, and our theme music is by Cyberwave Orchestra. For everything else, blame Elle. You can find her online at ellehartford.com.